Vishwarup is discussing Bhagavad Gita to call him back for lunch. Nimai is sent. And when the Vaishnavas see Nimai, he's in chanting form. They immediately become so stunned they can't even carry on with the speaking about Krishna. And the singing is Advaita Acharya. Mani mani chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manushta Evalopnai. I'm thinking, mani mani chintai Advaita Mahashai. He's not sure. Again and again he's thinking, mani mani chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manushta Nay. This boy is not material. Prakrita Manushta Evalopnai. This boy is not material. How can he attract the minds? Advaita Thakur, who prayed in Shantipur on the banks of Ganga, worshipping his Shalagram Shila. Tulasi Dalamat Prena, one Tulasi leaf, Jalasha Chaluk Galenava, enough Ganga jal to fill the palm of your hand. When it's offered to Govinda, Vikrinetam Sam Atmanam, he can find nothing to give in return, he sells himself, he gives himself. Vikrinetam Sam Atmanam Bhaktevya Bhaktivatsala. Chanting this verse, understanding this verse, Advaita Thakur, he prayed and cried and called out for the appearance of Krishna in Navadvip, here in Shantipur. And when Mahaprabhu appeared, just his neighbor, and he's coming every day, but he doesn't think, oh, that's the Supreme Lord that I prayed for. Just see the Navadvip Leela. I do not think that Nimai is God. Sarva Navadike, Sarva Lo, Koilo, Dhani, Nimai Pandit, Odda Pakshidomani. Odda Pakshidomani, Sarva Navadike, Koilo, Sarva Lo, Koilo, Dhani. Oh, you could hear from the lips of the Navadip residents. Nimai Pandit, Odda Pakshidomani. Nimai Pandit is the prince, he's the Odda Pakshiromani, the jewel of the professors. He's enjoying the Navadip Leela. He's the Vidya Leela. He's enjoying the Vidya Leela. It was not just some ordinary suburb. Navadip, famous for scholarship. Chaturdik Hoite Lok Navadip Ejai. From all directions they're coming to Navadip. Why? Navadip Borile. If you study in Navadip, Shay Bindarash, you get the taste of learning. Navadip was such a place. And he was the jewel of the scholars. It wasn't just some ordinary suburb where he's a smart kid. The most prestigious place of all the scholars. And he's the prince of learning. He's enjoying the Leela. Just like Krishna with the cows. Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachishuta Hoylo Jai. The darling of the king of Braj, Shachishuta, appeared in Sachi Devi's courtyard. Baladama Hoylo Nitai. They just change the costumes. So the Navadip Leela, and here we are in Navadip. Why we come to this place? The Gopshunda Leela. Chintamani Rup Hoye Gaur Mondo Chit Anandamoy Dam Chinmo Shabo. Everything is spiritual. Jal, Bhumi, Brika. Jal, the water, Bhumi, the land, Brika, the tree, Shabo, Chinmoy. It's all spiritual. Aprakrita Chinta Karja, Aprakrita Shakti Karja, Achincha Shakti, Aprakrita Noi. It's all spiritual. Why? Because it comes along with him. Prabhupada says, just like a big man, a chief executive officer of the country, the leader of the country, when he comes, he doesn't come alone. Just like Barack Obama, he was the president of the United States. He came to India. There's 1,500 staff members. Just going along with him, 1,500. So like that, when Krishna comes, he brings all of his paraphernalia, all of his facility, everything comes with him. There's no inconvenience. He just brings the whole spiritual world with him. That's why the Holy Dham is such a special place. Because he came, this place appeared for his hosting his transcendental pastimes. It's a great pain for the Navadip Vasis that suddenly he took sannyas. They're enjoying. They first, even before the Sankirtan movement, they're all in love with Nimai, just seeing him every day, dressed in his dhoti, tied around the waist with his tilak and the chandan and his shalom blackish hair with his Brahman thread, going to give the class. Like Cupid himself. Just seeing him, they were satisfied, even though he wasn't doing Sankirtan. So then when he joined Sankirtan, when he began the Sankirtan, the four brothers of Srivas Thakur, Sri Ram, Srinidhi, Sripad, Srivas, Sri Ram, younger brother, all every day they're going to the courtyard of Srivas Thakur. Kunda gache yache Srivas Mondire, Kunda rupe kiva kopataro avatare. In the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, at Kunda gache, there's a jasmine tree at Kunda gache. Srivas Mondire, Kunda rupe. In the form of a kunda tree, Kipa Kopataru Avatara. It's an incarnation of a spiritual tree, Kopataru from the spiritual world. In the courtyard of Srivas Thakur. It never exhausted the flowers. Even here in Mayapur, the devotees have to get up very early in the morning and go searching here and there to collect flowers, to make garlands, to punch it up, long garlands. So they take many hours collecting from the trees to make the garlands. We heard Maharaj, Kalanda Maharaj, he said that the Lord's pastimes are so extraordinary. How they collected flowers. Mahaprabhu's associates, so transcendental, all in one bush every day gathering together, chit-chat, transcendental. Not on the Facebook. They're actually talking to the person, they're right in front of them, they're picking flowers, they're all worshipping deities. And Sri Ram, the younger brother of Srivas Thakur, he comes, he's jubilant, he's smiling, he's effervescent with joy. And all the Vaishnavas there, they ask, oh, you're so happy today. What is it? Ah, yes, Parama Adbhut Kota, the most amazing thing. Parama Adbhut Kota Maha Ashambha. The impossible has happened. Nimai Pandit, Hoilo, Parama Vaishnava. Nimai Pandit has become an exalted Vaishnava. Parama Adbhut Kota Maha Ashambha. That which we were always deep in our hearts desiring, what we thought the most cherished desire. That desire, Nimai Pandit has become a Vaishnava. He's crying in love of God. Pada Pada Tirtha Laite Matra Nam. Just by hearing the name, Pada Pada Tirtha. Pada Pada Tirtha Laite Matra Nam. Nayane Jala Shopurna Hoilostan. Nayane Jala, tears from his eyes, Shopurna Hoilostan, flooded the courtyard. Pada Pada Tirtha Laite Matra Nam. Just by hearing the name, Pada Pada Tirtha. That is the type of Vaishnava he's become. I can't believe it. So then there's 4 years, Mahaprabhu, he's gone to Gaya. We reflect, we became a devotee. It takes some time. I was a student in a college, art college, and I would go to the Food for Life. The prasadam was almost free. And every day we're taking prasadam there. And then one devotee said to me one time, he said, actually, the really nice prasadam is in the temple. Oh. He said, come to the temple, Sunday feast. So we're going Sunday feast, and it's taking some time. It took me to 2 years from the time of first meeting devotees to become fully practicing. It took me 2 years. But everyone takes, some people, they come, they join, I know, they join on the weekend, they stay. I know, in Prabhupada's time, devotees, Prabhupada was there, they came and never left the temple, on the spot. Mahaprabhu is in Gaya, he's going there to perform Shraddha, and then all of a sudden, just seeing the lotus feet of Madhusudan in Gaya Dham. Sharva Jogajet Bhagye Prabhu Gaura Chandra Prem Bhakti Prakashe Korila Arambha. Prem Bhakti Prakash of God. Tears. The priest has never seen such a manifestation of love of God. Tears flowing from his eyes. Prem Bhakti Prakash Korila Arambha. It began at that moment. And then one moment normal, Vaishnava, he's Brahmin, Pandit, Nimai Pandit. Next moment, tears of love of God, unstoppable. Prem Bhakti Prakash Korila Arambha. And his guru was there witnessing. How extraordinary is that? How many people, how many devotees that happened? Yeah, I got love of God on the spot. And my guru was standing there. Mahaprabhu's Leela, extraordinary. Everything happens so wonderfully. Sri Gaura Modur Leela, the sweet pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Jagarni, Progashila, those whose ears they enter into. Ridor Nirmal Paravatara, heart becomes pure. So on the spot, Mahaprabhu loved God, and even then, tonight we'll hear he took sannyas. As we started, he took sannyas. He immediately wanted to go to Vrindavan. He's wandering in Narada Desh. We'll get to it. But even before, even in Gaya, when he was initiated, then immediately that had such an effect on him. Kiva mantra dilabo shah, kiva bol, jopati mantra, korile pago. Chopati mantra, korile pago. Kiva mantra dilo. What mantra have you given me? Gosha, kiva bol. What is it now? Jopati mantra, korile pago. I don't want to go back to Mayapur anymore. He said to the students, I'm not going back, I'm finished. We'll go to Vrindavan. And he went, he's wondering. All the students left behind, they're amazed how we can. He's running off to Vrindavan. Kotodu Jaite Shunin Divabani. He, after going some distance, Kotodu Jaite Shunin Divabani. He hears a transcendental sound in the sky. A voice from the sky. Just like we make a decision, it's so exhausting. Have to rethink it, rethink it again, consequences, maybe after consultation. And finally you make a decision and still you're not sure if it's the right thing. At every step in life. They're so punished. Mind. Then we get this manashashtani priyani prakritishtani karshati. Making the decision is so painful. So much anxiety. Mahaprabhu, how it's so extraordinary. Everything about his Leela. Walking on the path, he hears the sound in the sky. Kotodu jaite dibba, kotodu jaite shunin dibbavani, ekon madura na jaibo, dvijamani. Oh Dvijamani, jewel of the twice born, ekon madura na jaiben. Now you will not go to Vrindavan. There's a voice in the sky. We'll come to remind you of your avatar. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's so overwhelmed with love of God, chanting that mantra, that he forgot he's God. He's racing off to Vrindavan. Where's Krishna in Vrindavan? This is Bhakti Rupa. And he goes back to Mayapur, goes back, but still he's a changed person. Quickly the news spread all throughout Mayapur. But the Nimai Pandit is shedding tears of love of God incessantly. It's not that, he had that experience there in Gaya and he's shivering and rolling on the ground and profuse tears of love of God, and then after a while he became normal. No, it was constantly. He's sometimes constrained, but he was like that. Once it began awakening, the sun rises, it goes back again. He was like that constantly. He came back to Mayapur just by hearing the name, hearing the name, Padapandit light him out there. Nayan Jole, the tears from his eyes, Shopunna Hoyroshnan, flooded the place. Maharaj was talking about Lalini Shakti entering the heart becomes soft. Mahaprabhu, just by hearing the name, Padapandit, the tears from his eyes flooded the place. Talk about soft heart. So then in Mayapur, 4 years, the Sankirtan Leela. It's actually described in great detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Leela, 27 chapters. Madhya Leela. It's just briefly summarized in Chaitanya Charitamrita, 2 chapters. Summary. 16, 17, Adi Leela. A summary of Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Bhagavat, 27 chapters. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Navadev Leela, Mahaprabhu, with the associates. Gaudangir Shamvidane, Nitashita, Porimane, Jai Joy Brajendra. You want to attain Brajendra Shuddha and Vrindavan and understand that Gaudangir Shamvidane, Nitashita, Porimane. All the Brajavasis that appeared with Lord Hari here in Navadip to enjoy the pastimes. Chaitanya Leela. So then it was so painful. Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Tonight we'll discuss it a little bit. It doesn't just end up though they came again. He leaves Navadip, takes sannyas in the middle of the night, near Daya, he goes. And then shaving the head, and Katma, the Baba couldn't even come close with the razor, couldn't conceive, cutting Mahaprabhu's hair. There is a samadhi there, a jewel samadhi. He'd taken sannyas, and then he comes to Shanti. Well, here tonight he comes to Shantipur, and then again, some days, but again he leaves. Again he leaves from Shantipur, the pain. So we'll discuss a little on that topic this evening. So he's taken sannyas, he's wondering. Ebe Shkoile, Ebe Brindavan Giya, Krishna Nishevan Gori, Niprite Boshia. Having accepted this grace, Ebe Shkoile, now I've taken sannyas, Ebe Shkoile, Ebe Brindavan Giya. I will go to Vrindavan, Krishna Nishevan Gori, Niprite Boshia, and worship Krishna in a secluded place. I was wandering around in the mood in the desert, not in desert, sorry, that's a mistake. It's Radhadesh. It's not a desert, it's just like everywhere else. There's pastures, there's people living, there's villages. It's an Ambik, he reaches eventually Ambika Talma. And then he's on the Shantipur sits on the other side of the river. So he's wandering around. Now, when he took sannyas, not so many people, not all the Navadip presidents, only a few. Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, Chandrasekhar,
Damodar Pandit,
and Damodar Pandit, a few, when Mahaprabhu's sannyas. So they were with him. In fact, only 3 after he took sannyas. He's wandering here and there in Radhadesh. In fact, this chapter is also very significant because you could say that it's the opening, this chapter, chapter 3, Madhulila. It's really when the real narrative of Chaitanya Charitamrita begins. Because prior to this are actually introductory chapters. Even all of Adi Lila, first 12 chapters are Panchatattva. It's not Lila. Who is the Panchatattva? And then chapters 13 to 17 are a summary of Mahaprabhu Navadip Lila, which I said 27 chapters. It's actually 45 chapters. Adi Lila and Madhula, 45 chapters, Chaitanya Bhagavat, summarized in 4 chapters, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapters 13 to 17. And then chapter 1 is an overview. Chapter 1, Madhulila, is an overview of Madhulila. And then chapter 2 is Mahaprabhu's ecstatic transformations. It's just a chapter of complete transcendental subject matter, Mahaprabhu's ecstatic manifestations. And then chapter 3 begins, Mahaprabhu wandering, having taken sannyas. I read the verse that he just took sannyas. So actually the narration from now on it continues. But up to this point it wasn't an unbroken narration. It was different topics placed beside each other. Now actually the narration will begin and will carry on the entire Madhulila. From Mahaprabhu, everything in Madhulila, which is Tarmodde Choi Vachu Gamon, Agamon, Kabu Dokin, Kabu Go, Kabu Brindavan. Summary of Madhulila, one line, Krishna Das Kaviraj. Tarmodde Choi Vachu, within the period, the 6 years, Gamon, Agamon, coming and going. Gamon, Agamon, from Puri. He's going to Puri. But in this Madhulila, he's coming and going. Kabu Dokin, he goes to South Indian tour. Kabu Go, he comes back to Ram Kelly and liberates Rupa and Sanatan, Kabu Brindavan. And then he goes back to Puri, then he actually goes to Brindavan through Jarikanda forest, and then returns. So all of that took 6 years. And all Mahaprabhu's teachings are in that period. Teachings to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy, Venkat Bhatta, Bhagavananda Saraswati, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. And therefore Madhulila is Prabhupada summarized in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya as 5 conversations. So this chapter is actually the beginning of the Madhulila narrative being discussed. So he's taken sannyas, he's wandering with Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, Acharya Ratna. They're not actually all walking together because Mahaprabhu is in such a state He's in such a state, yeah. Eta boli chale Prabhu premon ma dera chinha. Mahaprabhu saying this sannyas mantra, he's premon ma der, his ecstatic symptoms are manifesting. Premon mad means the symptom of ecstatic love. Premon mad. Dik bidik gyan nahi. Dik bidik gyan nahi. He didn't know what direction he's going in. Dik bidik. This is right direction or wrong direction. Dik bidik gyan nahi. No understanding of where he's going. Kiba ratri din, or whether it's day or night. There's no understanding where he's going, or whether it's day or night. So what to speak of, he's going with people. So he doesn't even know where. Nityananda Acharya Ratna Mukunda Tinjon Prabhu Pache Pache Tiner Kore Gamon. Behind Prabhu Pache Pache Tiner Kore Gamon. Yeah, because he's not actually able to communicate in an ordinary way with other people, so they're just following him. Now Nityananda Prabhu, he had spoken to the cowherd boys on the bank of the Ganga, and he said, when Mahaprabhu comes and asks you for the direction of the Vrindavan, then point him in the direction of the Ganga, the Jamuna. So the cowherd boys agreed, and Mahaprabhu said, where is Vrindavan? They said, this is the Jamuna. And then Nityananda Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. Nityananda Prabhu says, here's the Jamuna. But before that, Nityananda Prabhu, he says to Acharya Ratna, that you go to Advaita Acharya's house in Chantipur and you tell him to prepare as I'm bringing Mahaprabhu. And then he said, then go to Navadip. Tobe Navadipe Tumi Koraho Gamon Shachi Shaha Lai Aisha Shobhaktagon. Then you go to Navadip and you tell all the devotees and Sachi Devi to come to Shantipur. And then Nityananda Prabhu, he comes in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, he sees Nityananda Prabhu in front of him. And he says that he says, Prabhu Kohe. Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu Kohe, Sripad, Tomar Kotai Gamon. Sripad. Nityananda Prabhu, Sripad, Tomar Kotai Gamon, where are you going? Sripad Kohe, Nityananda Prabhu replies, Tomar Shange Jabo Vrindavan. Tomar Shange Jabo Vrindavan. See the way they interact with each other. Isn't it amazing? We sang the song, Parama Korana Bohuduijan, Yetai Gojan, Shab Avatar Shah, of all the avatars, said the cream, Shab Avatar Shah, Shiromani, the jewel on the head. Kepala Ananda Kanda. This is how they're interacting with each other. Amazing. They're playing like this amazing social interaction experience between Nitya and Gaura. Where are you going? I'm going to Vrindavan with you. How far is Vrindavan? Prabhu Kohe, Koto Durache Vrindavan. Teho Kohen. Nityananda Prabhu replies, Teho Kohen, Koto E Jamuna Darshan. Look, here is Jamuna. So, accepting the Mahaprabhu as the Jamuna, Mahaprabhu, he begins offering prayers. Oh, Jamuna River, the blissful spiritual water that gives love to the son of Nanda Maharaj. You are the same as the water of the spiritual world. You are the creator of all auspicious things, daughter of the sun god. Kindly purify us by your pious activities. Mahaprabhu offering prayers to Jamuna. Eta boli namaskari koile Ganga Snan. They're saying that namaskar kori koile Ganga Snan. He takes bath. Ekko pitna hi dvitiyo parithan. Wearing only the clothes that he had and no other set of cloth. So for that reason, Nityananda Prabhu had ordered Acharya Ratna to go and tell Advaita Acharya to get prepared. So he was there with a dry set of cloth. With a dry set of cloth, because he knew that getting prepared, a dry set of cloth. And Mahaprabhu sees Advaita Acharya, oh, Advaita Acharya, I didn't know you were in Vrindavan. How did you know I was coming to Vrindavan? Acharya Kohe, Advaita Acharya replies, Tumi Jahan Shay Vrindavan, wherever you are is Vrindavan. More bhagye gange tire tomar agamon. My great fortune that today you've come to the bank of the Ganges. So then Advaita Acharya explained that you're in Shantipur, and Mahaprabhu, he realized, he thought that Nityananda Prabhu had cheated him. But Advaita Acharya, he explained that no, here the Ganges and Jamuna is a Triveni, Saraswati Ho is Triveni from Prayag, Shangam. There, Saraswati, Jamuna, Ganga, Shanga. So from Prayag down, actually Jamuna is flowing, and Jamuna is flowing on the west side, which is the other side of Ganga from where we take bath here in Mayapur, opposite side. It's Jamuna. And this side is Ganga. So Mahaprabhu actually had taken bath in the Jamuna. Advaita Acharya explained everything. So then he brought Advaita Acharya, he brought Mahaprabhu to his home in Shantipur. At first he washed his lotus feet, and then they'd arranged cookings. Shita Devi, Doya Koda, Shita Poti, Advaita Goshai, Dola Kripa Bole, Boy Chaitanya Charitamrita Shita Poti. So Shita Devi, the wife of Advaita Acharya Thakur, Shita Devi. She cooked so many items. In fact, it would take several hours for me to just describe them. But they take an extensive, detailed description of the items, Bengali items. Although my Bengali wife, she's sitting here, she also cooks Bengali items. She said to me I should describe, how could I give the class without describing all the Bengali items? She said that to me. I'm not going to describe them. So Advaita Acharya, he's inviting Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu to take prasadam in the room. When you go to Shantipur, you can see this place. Grihe Pitune Prabhu Korun Gaman. He went inside the room, Dui Bhai, Aileto, he Pori De Bhujan, and they sat down and began taking prasadam. Actually, before, they sat down and began taking prasadam. And at that time, actually, they both, that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, when they sat down to take prasadam, they called Mukunda Datta and Haridas Thakur to also take prasadam with them. So that's interesting also that this is the first, apart from a few mentions when we're describing the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's branches, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan family tree, Haridas Thakur is mentioned. But this is the first time that actually he's brought into the narration and described as being a participant in the pastimes. This is the first time we hear Haridas Thakur being mentioned. And he's mentioned in this way that he is present there in the house of Advaita Acharya Thakur in Shantipur. And that's very significant because many pastimes of Srila Haridas Thakur, whilst living in that area, are described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Just like him going there, he's chanting 3 lakhs of name every day, and his cave. He had a cave, Uliya, which is near Shantipur. And there was a snake living in the cave, and the snake left. So all those pastimes are described. And even he was offered the Shradapatra by Roda Acharya Thakur. That all happened previously. Because at Haridas Thakur, he's actually old like Mahaprabhu's grandfather. Because Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, and he'd been there perhaps at that time Mahaprabhu was in his 30s. And Haridas Thakur was already very aged, he was like 75 years old, because he was lying down, couldn't chant his japa. So all of those pastimes of Haridas Thakur, like delivering the prostitute in Benapal, and being beaten in the marketplace, they're all pastimes which they happened before Mahaprabhu's appearance. And so now Haridas Thakur, these are like those pastimes are like 20, 30 years in the past. But they all happened in that area. And now we just hear Haridas Thakur, and he's there in the house of Advaita Acharya. So isn't that interesting that just by hearing his name, and we remembered all of those pastimes that he performed. But actually that's the way that Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat complement each other. So it's not described, who is Haridas Thakur or how he happens to be here. It's just mentioned. So isn't that interesting? In other words, we're meant to assume that Krishna Das Kaviraj is assuming that we already know who is Haridas Thakur. Because Mahaprabhu just calls him to take prasad. And Haridas Thakur, he says that Mukunda, he says, they were reluctant. It's interesting, what would you do if Nitai Gaura was sitting and then they said Keshi Gad and Krishna Yasha, come for prasad and sit with us? Well, what would you do? But this is the extreme humility of Mukunda Datta and Haridas Thakur, that they didn't want to actually have that type of friendly, intimate association with Mahaprabhu, because they had such a reverential mood of serving Prabhu, and I didn't want to take prasad with him. So isn't that amazing? So Mukunda Datta, he says that I have some work to do now, I'll take prasad later. But Haridas Thakur, he says, no, I'm fallen. I'm the most fallen, I'm not going to come in there. You just pass a little bowl, a handful of prasad, and I'll sit on the outside in there, and I'll take out some. Yes, he said. Haridas Kahe Moi Papishta Adham, I'm so sinful and the lowest. Bahire ek mushti pache kore bhojan. Sitting outside, I'll take a handful of prasad. Now, seeing those offerings, as I mentioned, that we're not describing in detail all of the innumerable items of prasadam that were prepared by the wife of Advaita Acharya. In fact, that in itself would require exclusively our own presentation. But Mahaprabhu, he did explain, having seen all those items, seeing the display of the prasadam in pots, so all placed out there. This is culture, has been Gaudiya culture, Gaudiya culture. Gauda Priya, Shaka Shevane, Jivana Shartatmane.
Yes.
Just by honoring the prasadam, Gauda Priya, Shaka Shevane, Jivana Shartatmane. My life is perfect. That's how important is prasadam in the Gaur Leela. How much it can help us remember Krishna. Prasadam. And especially like this, cooked in the pots, all offered to the deity, Mahaprasad, and then serving this. Again, Bhaktivinoda, Prasad Sheva Bodhi Deho, Shatala Prapancha Jalai. Can be delivered just by honoring Krishna. So Mahaprabhu says that Ache Onna Jai Krishna Kai Koraya Bhojan, the one who Krishna Kai Koraya Bhojan offers such rice, such food to Krishna. He said that anyone who offers such nice food to Krishna, janme janme shide dharon taha chodane. Janme janme shide dharon taha chodane. Life after life I will take their feet on my head. So there was more pastimes there, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they were very extraordinary. Like Mahaprabhu is saying, so much food, how can you expect a sannyasi to eat some? And Nityananda Prabhu is saying, how frustrating that I've been fasting for 3 days and today I thought I'd fill my belly and there's not even enough here to fill my belly. And then he begins eating the prasada and he throws the rice onto the floor. And pieces of the rice, they bounce off the floor and stick on the body of Advaita Acharya, and he immediately begins dancing. This is how they're taking prasada. And then, Advaita Acharya, he says that, what will happen now, I've been touched by the remnants of the dude, so I've become a madman. And Nityananda Prabhu says that, this is not ordinary food, this is Mahaprasadam, and if you don't respect, because of neglecting to properly respect it, you have to feed 100 sannyasis in your home. And Advaita Acharya says, I will never ever again invite a sannyasi to my home, because as a sannyasi has spoiled all of my smriti principles. This is how they interact when they take the prasadam. And then Sachi Devi came. She came on a palanquin carried by Chandrasekhar Acharya, because he had gone to Shantipur, told Advaita Acharya to get ready, then he went to Navadip and he remained. The devotees, they already began coming from Navadip to Shantipur before Sachi Devi had reached. And Acharya Ratna, he remained there and brought Sachi Devi. Because Nityananda Prabhu specifically mentioned bring Sachi Devi and told all the Vaishnavas to come. So he's coming with Sachi Devi on a palanquin. They were carrying her on a palanquin. How cool is that? Is that so extraordinary? Kalanki, she's so respected. Such a culture, such a respected. The mother of Mahaprabhu. She's so much loved that she was carried on a palanquin from Mahaprabhu Janmasthana Jogapit to Shantipur on a palanquin. She's sitting inside. And then she came and got down and she saw Mahaprabhu with the shaven head. And how she felt such pain. And what's the first thing she said? She said, do not be cruel like Vishwarup. But just a minute, look at the Sachi Devi's life. She had 8 daughters that all passed away. Yeah. Sorry to mention that, you look so pained. But before Vishwarup was born, she had 8 daughters that passed away. There's leader, but still, what a life of setback. And then Vishwarup is such a jewel. Vishwarup Mahashai. Shravane Mone Gone Shavendriya. Shravane Mone Shavendriya Gone Krishna Bhakti Vine Na Vole Na Shune. All of his senses engaged in this serving the Lord from childhood, Vishwarup Mahashai. And he also he'd taken sannyas, he took sannyas. Why did he take sannyas? Because it was so painful in Navadip, not hearing the glorification of his beloved Krishna Chandra. Boro Dukha Pai Vishwarup Bhagavan Na Shune Avishta Krishna Chandra Akyan. Na Shune Avishta Krishna Chandra Akyan. Not hearing beloved Krishna's glorification. Boro Dukha Pai Vishwarup Bhagavan. He felt such pain. Dukhe Vishwarup Mone Gone Na Dekhibo Lok Mok Chole Joy Bone. It's better not to see their faces. Na Dekhibo Lok Mok Chole Joy Bone. He left and never gave any news again. Sachi Devi never heard anything again. I remember a bit of personal experience. I'll share a personal experience relevant to the topic. Here in Mayapur, many years ago, Nitya Lila Pravishna Shra Kadambakana and Shami Maharaj, we invited him to teach Bhakti Shastri, Mayapur Institute. He would regularly come, teach nectar of devotion, teach nectar of instruction. He and Chaitanya Charitamrita Swami Maharaj. And then they would stay together, associate with each other, and then discuss, take prasadam together. And 1 year they would swap books, nectar devotion, nectar instruction, like that for many years. So one evening, Nityalila Prabhu Krishna Srila Kadamba Kanan Shami Maharaj was giving class in Bhakti Charu Shami Maharaj's room in Conch building. And I was leaving the class and I saw that his previous ashram wife, who is now a widow, she actually was sitting outside the room listening. So in this way, there can be that type of, that was acceptable, because he didn't know she was in Mayapur. She never introduced herself, never met, but she was not forbidden, but she wasn't in his presence, but she was listening to the class. And in that way you can imagine she would have gotten so much satisfaction, having been married for many decades and then he took sannyas. But to be able to hear his voice again preaching as a sannyasi obviously would have given her so much joy. So Sachi Devi said that to Nimai that don't do like Vishwarupa, who I never heard of again. And so this is the whole theme. That the devotees, they're all worried what to do, Sachi Devi, how we can fulfill, how we can accommodate. And Mahaprabhu said, I'll go wherever you tell me to stay. So then all of this discussion was going on. Now all the devotees had come from Navadip except Vishnu Priya. And not just Navadip, other surrounding areas. And all the devotees from Shantipur as well. And Navada Acharya, he was hosting everyone prasadam and accommodation. And a 10-day festival. Isn't that amazing? And there was no registration fee. I'm not making any criticism, I'm just explaining that just see the Go Leela. It's not that you have to pay a registration fee, but we always have to pay a registration fee in any program like that. 10 days festival, prasadam, accommodation. We do. It's reasonable, it's minimal. But then they don't even worry about fee. Registration. It's so wonderful. What a host, what a household. And the devotees, so they Mahaprabhu, they all came again. Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu said, let's give us some time. So it's like he can't go back to Mayapur. Mahaprabhu himself said, Sanyasir dharma nahe shannash koriya nitya janmashtane rohe kutumbalaya. It's not the duty of a sannyasi to remain at home, but having taken sannyas, kutumbala, with her family. So I can't go back to Mayapur, but I cannot, it's very painful, I cannot give up your association. All the dear devotees, Acharya Ratna, and Bhaktisha Pandit, and Shivash Thakur, and Garuda Pandit, and the Murari, and Shadashiv, and on, the devotees whose names are regularly mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. They never skipped, just to hear their names, the whole universe is purified. So they're such special devotees. Mahaprabhu, how can I give them up? And why should I give them up? Why did he take sannyas? Just for being able to travel and actually to deliver the scholars, the smarters, the atheists, and the students who were not taking advantage of his appearance as Jugabata when he was at Grihastha in Mayapur. And they were even envious. Like Gopal Chapal, he tried to dishonor Shivash Thakur. There were many like that. One Brahmin cursed Mahaprabhu, so many. And the students, they were going to beat Mahaprabhu because one student, Mahaprabhu, overwhelmed. That's a long story, we won't go into detail another time. So Mahaprabhu said that all these classes, the students, the academics, the smarters, shaktas, when they see me, they will fall at my feet because I'm a sannyasi. Even now we do. What did you do 500 years ago? Everyone went to all the dharmacharis, they would fall at the feet of the sannyasi. In this way, Uthari Baba will deliver them, Shakal Bhavan, the entire universe. So he takes sannyas. just to receive that respect. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing how in the Vedic culture, different social positions, it's not all one like in the other philosophies in the world. There's not one for everybody. One same stuff, but not everyone fits, but you can be a sannyasi. You can be so ideal in your practice that just by facilitating that person, people will get purified. Sannyasi is so perfect in their practice of Krishna consciousness that just by serving them, you'll be so much benefit. So therefore, the sannyasa is good for them, it's good for you, it's good for society. They can focus more and more. And then Grihastha wants to live independent anyway. So you can't fit everyone in it. And the student, he just wants to be able to get to practice tapasya and study. And so Mahaprabhu took sannyas. It's a glorious move. And therefore he spread the Sankirtan movement. It's predicted sannyasa kriksha shamaha shanta nishta shanti prahan. Predicted 5,000 years ago he would take sannyas. Mahabharata predicted. So the devotees from Navadip, they all came that at least let us have this period of association. So it was 10 days. They had a Shommelon, Vaishnav Mahachob, Shommelon. It's a big festival with Shankirtan and with Prasadam and with other speaking Krishna Katha. I think there were all the activities. I don't think there was any other activity. Just speaking Krishna Katha, hanging out together. And then the kirtan started in the evening and go till late at night. Kirtan started in the evening, Sandhya, and then go to keep going. So this kirtan is very special. Kirtan kodite prabhu shaka bhavu doi stamba tamba pulagasu godpeda pralai. All of the symptoms just in those kirtans in Shandipur. Kirtan kodite prabhu. When the kirtan began, sharva bhavu doi. Sharva bhavu doi. Eruption of all the emotional symptoms. Sarva bhava udoi, stamba, kampa, pulagasru, gadgada, pralai. Stunned, joking up, rolling on the ground, quivering, tears from their eyes, in the kirtan. And Mahaprabhu would spin in the air and then crash on the ground. Spin in the air and then crash on the ground. And Sachi Devi saw that and it pained her greatly. She's not thinking he's God, he can jump off a tall building, he won't be harmed. She's seeing him crash on the ground in the kirtan, she's feeling his big pain. She prays to Lord Narayan. She prays to Lord Narayan, Kale, Koilo, Jay Tamar Shevon, from childhood, the service I've done for you. Ta, Epol, More Deho Narayan. Hey Lord Narayan, now you give me the fruit of that Sheva. Jai Kale Nimai Pori Dhavani Upare. When Nimai falls, crashes on the ground, Dharani Upare. Beta, Jena, Nahi Lage, Nimar Shodyade. He doesn't feel pain in his body. You give me this benediction. Narayan, as a result of all the service I've performed since childhood. This is what she prayed for. This is Sachi Devi. Give me this benediction. As a result of all the seva I have performed since childhood. When Nimai crashes to the ground in kirtan, he doesn't feel pain in his body. Jai Sachinandan.
Jai Sachinandan.
Jai Sachinandan. Why we chant? We should understand the mood of Sachi Devi. So then she's saying that it's very painful for me that you have accepted sannyas. But if you remain at home, then people will criticize you, and that will be so. How can I tolerate? So she says, Tate e jukta phalo more mane loy. Sachi Devi. Tate e jukta phalo. I think this is a good decision. Jukta. Conclusion. This is a good opinion. This is a good way of Tate Prabhupada says consideration. Tate A Jukta Bhalo, I think this consideration is good. More money lie, in my opinion. Nila chale rahe jodi dui karja hoy. Nila chale rahe jodi. If you stay in Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, dui karja hoy. You can go to Vrindavan, but it's still nearby Mayapur. Because Gaudiya, Odia, Bengal and Orissa are like two rooms in the one home. And people are always coming and going from Navadip to Jagannath Puri. Even now, if you go to Jagannath Puri, all the markets, all that you'll see is Bengali writing. So many Bengali tourists in Jagannath Puri, very accessible, take the train. But then also, no train, but still, Tomrashop Paro, Gamon, Gamon, Tobe Gongashnan, Tobe Gongashnan, Hobe Gone. That you can all come and go, Shop, Tobe Shop, you can all come, Gamon, Gamon, you can all come and go from Jagannath Puri. And that's what the Vaishnavas did. Every year they went to Jagannath Puri and remained for 4 months and associated with all the devotees from Navadip. And that's so important that the first time that they come, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he describes that in such detail. The arrival of the devotees from Navadip, Gauda Hoite Vaishnav Ashiyat Shindui Shata Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shah Maha 200 devotees who come from Bengal. It's announced in the king's palace, in the royal court. Gauda Hoite from Bengal, Vaishnav, Ashiyachin, Dui Shata, 200 devotees have come from Bengal. Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shah, they're all devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Maha Bhagavata, greatly advanced in devotional service. Bhagavathacharya, he's announcing to the king. It's such a significant part of the Chaitanya Leela. The devotees from Navadip going to Jagannath Puri to associate with Mahaprabhu in the Rath Yatra. The first time that they come, it's announced in the king's court, and they remain, and it's described that 21-day period. A 21-day from Snan Yatra to the end of Rath Yatra. Rath Yatra is 8-9 days, and Snan Yatra is 15 days.
23.
So that period of 24 days, 23 days, that's described in 4 chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhya Lila chapter 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 5 chapters. There's a 21-day period. Begins at Snan Yatra in such detail. There's the Vedic Kirtan pastimes, devotees arrive, there's a cleaning in the Gundicha temple, Rath Yatra, Vrindavan pastimes in Rath Yatra. 5 chapters, 21-day period. And previously, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explained a 2-year period of Mahaprabhu traveling in South India. 2 years, he explained in 1 chapter. And this is 21 days, explained in 5 chapters. This indicates the significance of that particular pastime. The Navadip devotees coming to Puri every year, that was so important in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here we're seeing the whole setup of this lila. Mahaprabhu Sachidevi says, oh, Jagannath Puri is like Vrindavan, but we can come and go. She says it right here in this one verse. Isn't that amazing? You like hearing that? This is enlightening.
Yes.
Just by reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Thakur, he predicted that foreigners would learn Bengali to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here in ISKCON Mayapur, Gopanima festival, you can see, you can witness such events. I'm going to read the Chaitanya, I'll read the verse. I'm reading the Chaitanya. Tate, Jukta Bhalo, more money lie, Nila Chale, Rohe, Jodi Dui Karja Hoy. 1 verse, she says. And then Mahaprabhu, the whole of the Puri Leela is based on this one. Do you want to go to Vrindavan? But Puri is close. So isn't this amazing? So then Mahaprabhu, he leaves after remaining there 10 days, Sachidevi cooking. And then she says, yes, you go to Jagannath Puri. So then next chapter, Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, again, Jagannathananda Pandit. Damodar Pandit. They accompanied Mahaprabhu from Shantipur to Jagannath Puri, and then Mahaprabhu arrives. He delivers Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, so all the lila carries on subsequently. So this evening we discussed a little bit of the Mahaprabhu's pastimes in the staying in the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, and we can take questions. Is there a mic?
That person has marked.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a mention of one book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Amrita Purva Bhashya. So is this book available nowadays or is not available? I searched actually, I could not find out. My first query. My second query is that Haridas Thakur and Chota Haridas Thakur, Chota Haridas and Akara Krishna Das, both were offensive, but the degree of offenses of Chota Haridas may be higher. That's why he committed suicide. So do you please distinguish both the offenses, Kala Krishna Das and Chota Haridas.
Well, apologies, we're not going to discuss about Kala Krishna Das and Chota Haridas because the topics that they're not on the agenda this evening, so we're not obliged to respond. But the topic about Amrita Pravasha, have you found that there's Bengali copies available?
I did not find out. I did not.
Any Bengali?
No. I could not. But every chapter is mentioned. Both are mentioned of the book. That
the place to inquire would be Bhaktivedanta Research, Kolkata, if such a thing exists, they may have.
That is not because stalls are given generally in the festivals.
Yes.
They don't have that.
I don't know,
They don't have that.
But it seems that Prabhupada would quote from it. In Prabhupada's reports, which are quoting, he often quotes. He quotes from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, Prabhupada has kindly extracted all the important things and included them in his reports. So, not having access to the original book in itself may not be such a loss because of Prabhupada's mercy. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances on glorious Sri. Prabhu, I haven't completed my reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I am very much behind in the league. So, I heard a couple of times that one cannot read the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita until Srimad Bhagavatam is completed. So, I don't know. I love hearing lectures.
Take a seat. Yeah, just take a seat. Isn't this amazing how such misunderstandings become established in history? Isn't this amazing? How you can see something that a new devotee considers like a law. And that's because of lacking, I'm sorry, but we lack education. And such things, in the past we lacked education amongst devotees, and many of the early years things were developed before. So therefore this has become like a law that you cannot read Chaitanya Charitamrita unless you read it through Srimad Bhagavatam. But this Prabhupada never said this. In fact, the Prabhupada in 1967, in 66, he just arrived in New York. The devotees hadn't even been initiated. In 1966, he was reading from Dr. Radha Krishna's Bhagavad Gita translation. Macmillan had not published Bhagavad Gita at that time. That was in 1968. Prabhupada was reading from Dr. Radha Krishna's Bhagavad Gita translation in English. And then one day he came back and came downstairs with a big red book and he began reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the devotees had never even heard of, but I mean, Srimad Bhagavatam Prabhupada was distributing, but it was not second canto, third canto, fourth canto. So why you came and started getting class on Chaitanya Charitamrita? So why you get the idea you can't hear Chaitanya Charitamrita unless you read the Bhagavatam? People, that's sort of some idea, it evolves and becomes a law. What Prabhupada did say, for successive study and certification of degrees, one goes in the order. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. And just to let you know, This year, a historic moment we witnessed here in Mayapur during the GBC meetings. When His Holiness Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, he became the first devotee in ISKCON to be awarded Bhakti Sarvabhauma degree.
Haribol.
So isn't that amazing? And at that time, he said to the GBC members that you should all be Bhakti Vedantas. So isn't that amazing? So that meant that you read you get the degrees in that order. But certainly you don't need to wait. You read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why wait? We only have such a short life anyway. Shesham Bandhana If you're not developing that relationship, life is wasted. You asked the question earlier to Maharaj also, you said something about becoming attracted to Gauranga. I said, where is that person? Let me get their feet and put on my head. If you're becoming attracted to Gauranga, Jai Gauda Prema Rosh and Arve, Shaitarangi Jeva Dube. Gauda Prema Rosh, the mellow, the Prema Rosh, the taste of Gauda Prema, loving Gauda. Gauda Prema Rosh, Anarve, the ocean. Anarve, Shaitarangi Jeva Dube, those who died into that ocean. Shai Radha Mata Bantadanga. Shai Radha Mata Bantadanga. They're the dear ones to Radha Mata. You cannot get Radha Mata without Mahaprabhu. Nitai, what is that? Heno Nitai Bine Ba Radha Krishna Deny. Heno Nitai Bine Ba. You cannot get. There's no other way of getting Radha and Krishna without going through Mahaprabhu. That's how you will get love for Radha and Krishna. You have to surrender yourself to Mahaprabhu. Jai Gaudanga Namalo Tadahoy Prema Boy. They get the prema, love of Krishna, and the Gaudanga Namaloy. They take the name Gaudanga. You said you're afraid you're developing attraction for Gaudanga. Where is this person? Let me follow them. Let me follow their feet. Give me a drop. Attraction for Gaudanga? It begins by attraction for hearing about Gauranga. Shravanad, you should be Chitta Korai, or hearing about it. There's so much voluminous, so we have to hear. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I think we can conclude. Nice question. We can conclude. Not nice finish.
Hare Premodoy. Tar Sakti the Jai Mudai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Gaur Shri Gaur Shri Premanande
Hare Haribol.